The Social Security Administration has updated its rules, and many seniors are discovering these changes in the most stressful ways imaginable. It's not happening through an official letter or a friendly phone call. Instead, people are seeing a smaller than expected check, receiving a notice demanding money back, or having a benefit cut off entirely without any warning. Today, we are diving into 6 specific restrictions that are either in effect now or are scheduled to begin very soon. These rules can limit what you can do, what you are allowed to earn, and even how much of your own money you get to keep. Some of these restrictions are brand new, while others have been quietly expanded. Every single one of them can cost you significant money if you aren't aware of how they work. Before we begin, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel and activate notifications. This is precisely the kind of information we cover: the rule changes, the expanding restrictions, and the unannounced deadlines that can impact your financial stability. Viewers who subscribe to this channel are the first to know about these changes before they affect their monthly benefits. Subscribe now, and let's get started. First up is restriction number 1. If you collect Social Security benefits but are still working and have not yet reached your full retirement age, the SSA places a firm limit on your annual earnings. For 2026, that limit stands at $24,480 per year. For every $2 you earn above that specific threshold, Social Security will withhold $1 from your benefit payments. Consider someone receiving an $1,800 monthly check. If they earn $10,000 over the limit in a year, they could lose over $400 per month in withheld benefits. For many people, this materializes as a shockingly smaller deposit, or, for several months, no deposit at all. The official explanation often lags far behind the financial impact. This rule catches so many people off guard because it feels counterintuitive. You earned your benefit and are rightfully receiving it. Then, you take a part-time job or do some seasonal work, and suddenly your Social Security check shrinks without explanation. Your first assumption is that there must be an error, but in this case, there isn't. An earnings calculation has simply triggered a withholding. However, here is the crucial detail that most people do not know about this restriction. The money that is withheld is not permanently gone. Once you reach your full retirement age, the Social Security Administration recalculates your benefit. This adjustment accounts for all the months where they withheld money, and your ongoing monthly check will increase permanently. So, the restriction acts more like a forced deferral than a true penalty. But in the short term, you are forced to live on less money. Knowing about this rule in advance is the difference between being able to plan for it and being completely blindsided by a sudden drop in income. It's also important to note that if you are approaching your full retirement age in 2026, the threshold is much higher, at $65,160 for that year. The moment you hit your full retirement age birthday, the earnings test vanishes completely, and you can earn any amount of money without it affecting your benefits. Now for restriction number 2. Until very recently, if you needed to verify your identity with Social Security for certain transactions, like changing your direct deposit information or setting up a new account, you could often handle it over the phone. That convenient option has been severely restricted. Starting in 2025, the SSA has eliminated telephone-based identity verification for most account actions that involve payment changes or new benefit applications. Your options now are to either verify your identity online through your My Social Security account at ssa.gov or to show up in person at a Social Security office. For the millions of seniors who are not comfortable with managing accounts online, this presents a real hardship. The SSA's own data has shown that approximately 6 million Medicare beneficiaries do not have access to the internet at home. Compounding this problem, the SSA has also closed or reduced services at dozens of its field offices across the country. This combination of stricter verification requirements and fewer physical locations to meet them has created significant barriers for people who need to make essential changes to their accounts. There is a practical step you can take right now to protect yourself. Create a My Social Security account at ssa.gov before you actually need it. The setup process requires a phone number, an email address, and identity verification, but it is far easier to navigate this process when you are not in the middle of a crisis. Once your account is established, most management tasks can be handled online at any time, giving you control and peace of mind. Let's move on to restriction number 3, the overpayment clawback. This is currently one of the most financially painful restrictions in place, and it expanded significantly in 2025 in a way that most people have not yet registered. The Social Security Administration has been sending out hundreds of thousands of letters to beneficiaries, claiming they were overpaid, sometimes by thousands of dollars, and demanding the money be returned. If you don't respond or are unable to repay the full amount within 30 days, the SSA can begin automatically withholding up to 50% of your monthly check until the entire debt is recovered. On a typical $1,600 check, that means $800 is gone every single month. What makes this situation particularly harsh is that a large portion of these overpayments were the result of errors made by the SSA itself in its own calculations. It's not due to fraud or deception by the recipients. The agency's own Inspector General has documented tens of thousands of these cases, and yet, the person who receives the letter is still legally required to repay the amount under the same strict rules. If an overpayment letter arrives at your door, your single most important action is to provide an immediate written response. You have two fundamental rights in this situation. First, you can file an appeal if you believe the amount they claim you owe is calculated incorrectly. Second, you can file a waiver request if you believe repaying the debt would cause you financial hardship and the overpayment was not your fault. Both of these must be filed before the SSA begins withholding your benefits. The moment they start taking money from your check, your options become much more limited. It is critical to file something in writing the very same week that the letter arrives. Next is restriction number 4. If you were born in the year 1960 or any year after, your full retirement age is now officially and permanently 67. It is not 65 and it is not 66. It is 67. This change is the final step in a process that has taken decades to implement, and 2026 is the year it fully locks into place. This means that if you choose to claim your benefits at age 62, the earliest possible age, you will now face a permanent 30% reduction in your monthly benefit amount. This is the largest penalty for early claiming that has ever been built into the Social Security system. To put that in perspective, if your full benefit at age 67 would be $2,000 per month, claiming at age 62 reduces your check to just $1,400 per month. And that reduction is permanent. It never goes away. Over a 20-year period, the financial difference between claiming at 62 versus waiting until 67 is more than $144,000. If you compare that to waiting until age 70, the difference grows to over $259,000. The financial benefit of waiting to claim is larger now than it has ever been, precisely because the penalty for claiming early is also larger than ever. Restriction number 5 concerns living abroad. If you plan to spend a significant amount of time living outside the United States, you need to know that Social Security has rules that can affect or even completely stop your payments. Most people are unaware of these rules until they are already overseas. For recipients of Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, the rule is absolute. If you leave the United States for 30 or more consecutive days, your SSI payments will stop. They can be reinstated once you return, but the gap in payments is permanent. You will not receive any back pay for the months you were gone. For standard Social Security retirement benefits, the rules are different and depend on where you are going. Payments continue normally in most countries. However, 2 countries are completely blocked: Cuba and North Korea. The SSA is legally prohibited from sending payments to these locations under any circumstances. Furthermore, there is a list of former Soviet bloc countries that have special requirements. This includes Azerbaijan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. For these countries, payments can only be made if the beneficiaries physically travel to the U.S. embassy to collect them. If you have family in any of these nations and are thinking about a move or even just an extended visit, it is essential to check the SSA's Payments Abroad screening tool on their website before you make any travel plans. Finally, restriction number 6. This one involves the future of the entire Social Security system. In February 2026, the Congressional Budget Office released an updated projection for when the Social Security Trust Fund is expected to be depleted. The new projected date is 2032. This is 1 year earlier than the 2025 estimate and 2 years earlier than projections made back in 2024. 3 primary factors moved this date forward. First, the Social Security Fairness Act added billions in new obligations by extending benefits to former public sector workers. Second, the One Big Beautiful Bill's senior deduction reduces the amount of payroll tax revenue flowing into the fund. And third, demographic shifts are accelerating as a larger number of baby boomers retire at the same time. So, what happens in 2032 if Congress takes no action? The trust fund's reserves will be exhausted. At that point, Social Security will only be able to pay out what it collects in payroll taxes each month. That amount is only enough to cover approximately 72 to 77 cents for every dollar of scheduled benefits. This would trigger an automatic across-the-board cut of 23% to 28% for every single recipient. It wouldn't matter what your age is, what your income is, or how long you've been receiving benefits. Based on the current average benefit of $2,081 per month, a 23% cut would mean $479 less every month. A 28% cut would mean $583 less. This is not a definite future. Congress has acted in the past to prevent this kind of crisis and can certainly act again. But the window for a solution is shrinking, and the political and mathematical challenges get harder every year that goes by without a plan. The people who will be most affected by this inaction are current retirees and anyone who plans to retire before the year 2040. The time to start paying close attention to this issue is now, not in 2031. So, let's review the full picture. We've covered 6 restrictions that are already costing seniors money or will be very soon.
The earnings test limits your income to $24,480 before your check is reduced, though the withheld money is eventually returned after you reach full retirement age. Phone verification for major SSA account changes is gone. You must set up your online account now to avoid future problems. Overpayment letters are being sent to hundreds of thousands of people, and the window to challenge them closes the moment withholding begins. The full retirement age is now officially 67 for everyone born in 1960 or later, making the penalty for early claiming more costly than ever. SSI benefits stop after 30 days abroad, and some countries block Social Security payments entirely. And the trust fund is now projected to run out by 2032, just 6 years from now, threatening a potential 23% to 28% cut to every single check if Congress fails to act. Please subscribe and share this video with someone you know who receives Social Security. I'll see you in the next one.